Good morning, everybody. Well, as you can see, I am not where I usually am. I am near the Raleigh-Durham Airport because I am flying to Detroit to go down to Fostoria, Ohio, to do programs tonight and tomorrow. But actually, I have a friend here, well, a new acquaintance here, I should say, but his name is Mark. And I'm going to let Mark tell you more about himself. But he's actually in Europe. He's over in southern France. So, Mark, hey. Good morning.
Well, someone has to suffer in the middle of wine country, so I thought I would volunteer.
Well, that's encouraging that you took the heat for everybody, but you've been doing that for a few years now.
Yeah, it's I visited this place. It's a little village called Pézenas in the southwestern part of France. It happens to be in the largest wine region, growing region in the world. And the village is about 8,300 people. They were just lovely. I had no French, very little French, though apparently English and French has about 40,000 words in common. But very few came to mind for me, I think, but they're very forgiving most of the time.
I need to figure out what those are because I'm having trouble with my Spanish, so that would be super helpful.
We say a lot of things in English growing up, but anything with an I-O-N is usually a French word. So question, convention, things like that. Yeah. Situation. Of course, they say it, I think, a little more sexy, but
situation.
Yeah, there you go. Reunion, all these things. It's good, but the people are just lovely here. So this is my apartment. This is my office. This is where I write and also cook. But
cook.
It is
and have wine, or the remains of wine appears to be up there on those shelves, maybe.
Well, of course, those are empty bottles. The full ones are in the wine rack over in the.
There you go.
Room.
Which takes up a whole room, right? Yeah. So, Mark, you're here today because you are one of a growing number of people who do this thing called male caregiving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you did it specifically for
my mother, Genevieve.
Your mom. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got into that role, because again, actually, people think it's super rare. It actually is no longer super rare. Right. It turns out that husbands and brothers and sons and sometimes fathers make up about 1/3 of all carers of people living with brain change of dementia. So It's not that rare, but it's still down to 1/3 as opposed to 2/3. And those numbers have only come up dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years. So it's new. It's still brand new.
So I'm hoping my story will help inspire other men to jump in because I had a great time. In 2011, I was a carefree bachelor in my mid-50s living in California. I had a business. I was also an actor, but the acting career I was aging out of that. So that was a bit slow. And I decided to become a first-time parent with an 89-year-old, guilt-tripping, stubborn as all get-out woman, who was my mother, Genevieve. And she had, I call it, there's a chapter in the book called Silent Scream. I think it was a cry for help. In 2011, a few days after her 89th birthday, she just shut down. It seemed like she was very unhappy. She was living in her own home. We had some people that were kind of helping with the household chores and things like that, but they did not get along well, and mom just seemed to want to go. So the doctor cut off all meds and food. Hospice was called. All her 6 kids all flew in. A couple of them were local, and we hung out. We were on death watch, and we had a Catholic priest come in and deliver the last rites, and we just kind of resigned ourselves. Mom's going. And then a few weeks later, one of the hospice nurses who ignored her directive and went in, and my mother her eyes were closed most of the time. She didn't talk. She would respond to touch a little bit. But this hospice nurse went in and just said, "Genevieve, are you hungry?" And my mother's eyes snapped open for the first time in weeks. And then my little sister and I were there. And so we were very angry with this nurse. And then she went in to call her supervisor and accused us of starving our mother to death. And so the supervisor told her to get out of there because she broke the rules. And now we're thinking, are we in fact starving our mother to death? So I went in and asked my mom, are you hungry? And she said, what do you got? And her first words in weeks. And I said, well, anything you want. And at this point, it's March. And she says, how about some pumpkin pie? And I said, well, it's not really pumpkin pie season, but my brother who lived locally, he was in the living room. So I asked him to take on the quest. And he came back about a half hour later with 2 fresh baked pumpkin pies. And so the first spoonful, again, this was the first food in weeks, she spit out. And we said, well, that didn't go so well. And we tried again, and it went great. And so she ate half the pie. The next day, she finished off the next pie. And then it went on to bowls and bowls of sherbet. So this woman is eating 8 bowls a day of sherbet. And we said, well, that's not the best diet, but she was back. She was awake. She seemed to be happy. And so you never know. And so I think that I started looking at the surroundings in the house that we grew up in. The house was pretty much, was in our family at this point over 60 years. And I saw that, I wouldn't be all that happy here either. And so I decided, I didn't move right away, but I stayed there for a few months. And then by the end of the year, I wrapped up everything I could in LA and decided to take over with her permission. I did ask her at one point because she seemed to be happy with me. I was the youngest of the 3 sons, and I have 3 sisters, 2 older, 1 younger. And I had a very good relationship with both of my parents. I was a very curious kid, and I got them to open up about things they never opened up about. So I had a very unique relationship with both of them. So with mom, I always tried to add a little romance to her life. And when she came out to visit me in California, I would take her to my friend's beauty salon in Beverly Hills to give her this movie star treatment. And so I kind of tried to help. I mean, one of the first things I did is bought her a new wardrobe because I wanted to return some dignity, and people, they don't lose that quest to really want to be pretty and feel beautiful later on. That doesn't end. So I started taking care of, giving her full sponge baths, taking care of her hair. She had very long nails, beautiful nails. She was a nail model in her early life. And a little touch of lipstick and just the tender, loving care. And she was great. So I asked her after we went to a grandson's wedding in September, and I got her all dolled up, and that was the first outing since February. So it was quite a few months of being bedridden. She didn't walk anymore. And she had a great time. And I saw that she was happy. Everybody around her was happy because she was happy. And I asked her, I said, do you want me to come home and do this full time to make sure you're cared for? And she said, yes. And I said, that's it, done deal. So I was brought up in a nice, nurturing home, not only by my parents, but with my siblings. We take care of others. So it seemed to be the right thing to do. And I was able to, the decision was easy. Working out of the logistics wasn't so easy, but once you make that decision, you make it work out. So
yeah. So what's remarkable, Mark, is your mom got a new lease on life, but it started as we thought she was done. We were supporting her being done. She sounded like she wanted to be done, but the reason maybe she wanted to be done was there's nothing there to live for. And once there was something to live for, she wasn't done living. I mean, there was more to live for. There was more to enjoy. There was more to find value in. And it sounds as though a big piece of that was rediscovering a relationship she lost by virtue of everybody going out and doing their own thing. And then with the offer of, would you like me to be back? It's like, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. And that became the springboard for the shift. And you figured out the rest because you needed to figure out the rest. but your book, and you've written a book, and it's got an unusual title. Could you give everybody the unusual title? Is this like, it's what I do in the morning sometimes, rarely. Males do it more than females do, be honest. Females go in there, do our thing, and get back out. You guys go in there and do other stuff. So tell me about that title.
We're not getting it. We're going to get to the title. I'm leaving the bathroom, our own bathroom things alone. Yes, it's called A Cup of Tea on the Commode. And my mother's favorite beverage was, well, there you go, was a cup of hot tea, skim milk, no sugar. And so she was no longer able to walk. So we put a commode bedside. And sometimes Mother Nature took a little longer than was comfortable. So one morning I asked her if she would like a cup of tea, and she said, sure. And while we waited for nature to take its course, the cup of tea became a big hit and also became a morning staple. So a cup of tea on the commode was a little treat for her. And yeah, so it seemed like a good title, a fun title, but also a unique title. So
yeah, so an amazing title. You know, we always talk about, it's funny in social media too, we always look for, okay, where's the hook? What's the thing that's going to potentially get people to check this thing out? Because, you know, there are lots of books out there. People have written about their journeys and their story and things like that. And so noticing how that title really does pull you in, because you're looking at that and you're like, a cup of tea on the commode. Okay, tell me more about this thing.
Yeah. And then the subtitle is my multitasking adventures of caring for Mom, and how I survived to tell the tale. Yeah. Because there's some struggles. And also for me being a first-time parent, there was a big learning curve for me. But the main thing I had to learn was certainly patience and empathy. And my background not only was in acting, but also I had an industrial design career. And when you're designing, you have to certainly have the end user in mind at all times. So empathy is a huge part of anything that I've done. And you have to realize that this person is still a human being. They still have feelings and wants and desires, but their abilities have changed. And so you have to put yourself in their shoes, or in my mom's case, her non-slip safety socks, because she could no longer walk. And not having children, this unconditional love thing was not really new to me, but it was something that really raises, it becomes so clear at that point, because no matter what happens, her life is basically in your hands. Yeah. And you have to, I told her early on, or I asked her early on, I said, okay, so if you want me to come back, welcome back.
Yeah, there's Teepa.
I said, if you want me to come back and make sure that you are cared for, I will do that. And she said, yes. And I said, okay, do you understand that I will do everything in my power to keep you safe, healthy, and happy? And she said, yes. And I said, well, that means you now must obey me. And her mood shifted in an instant. And then she puckered up for a kiss. She loved the kisses. And I wasn't sure if that was a sign of surrender or one wishing me luck. So I gave her a kiss and hoped for the best. And luckily, it turned out pretty good.
Yeah. Noticing a lot of times these role reversals in families, and how, so, you know, the mother, the father who cared and raised kids for so long, and then suddenly now we're in this position where the kids are coming in to now care for the parents, and the challenges that come with that. Yeah. And some of this idea of letting go some of those pieces and boundaries that we had, because it's tough a lot of times for parents when they get into those situations where now their child is caring for them, and that feeling, letting go that feeling of, well, no, I'm supposed to care for you. You're not supposed to care for me. And how that can be tough at times to make that transition in those situations. But yeah, what an amazing title and story. And I know I put your link to your Facebook page in the chat, as well as to the website. Is there anywhere else, Mark, that folks should go to check out this book or any other things that you've put out there?
I'm on everything. If they Google A Cup of Tea in the Commode, I've got TikTok. I've got a YouTube channel with about 140 1 minute or less teasers, which
cool.
are most of them are very fun. And TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, all over the place. The Facebook page is probably the most popular. That has quite a few followers there. It's interesting. So the contrast between my mom and my dad. My dad passed 14 years before I moved back to take care of mom, and my dad wanted to hold on to all of his dignity as much as possible. I'm not sure if that's the male ego or what, but I only had 8 days with him. We got a call. Again, I was in California. My brother called and said the doctor said he's got 30 days. He had heart disease. So he was about 7 years into this. So we knew this was imminent. But so I flew back and I was with him for 8 days. And that'll be the subject of the next book. But he was great. And it's a good sense of humor. We had a lot of fun. But a couple days before he passed, again, we had a commode near his bed. And so we got him up. And at this point, he was normally about 165. But with all this water weight from the heart disease, he weighed about 200 pounds. So I had to hold him up and get him on the commode and then lift him up to get him off. And then he insisted on wiping his own butt. So my mom stood by at the ready with the toilet paper. And so when I held him up, he looks over and says, "Give me 2 sheets." And my mom says, "Just 2 sheets?" And he says, "I'm very accurate." And we burst out laughing, and I almost dropped this poor guy. But that was one of the last laughs we all, shared. My mom, on the other hand, let me do everything. She had a bit of royalty, I think, in her blood, because she had no qualms about anything, and there was no line that I didn't cross. Because, again, being the son, I had to, deal with seeing my mother naked for the first time. So I had to get over that and get on with it pretty quickly. And then everything else that we had to do, it was I had to take care of medical things and stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, I had to separate the son part from being the caretaker or the caregiver. I don't like the word caretaker. We actually had caretakers in the house. Yeah. I think it's a caregiver.
Yeah. See, Mark, I would say it's a care partner. You partnered with your mom.
Oh, good. Okay. I like that too.
You learned to dance with her. And I think the thing that allowed for that role reversal that you described very well is that you always got her permission.
Yeah.
And that's what we advocate so strongly is you must have permission. Without permission, it's not care. And so you were very skilled at seeking and getting permission. I mean, and it turned out your mom was like, "Sure, I'll take a servant. Go for it."
Yeah. I do have a chapter in the book about Queen for a Day, where she actually summoned me one morning. I heard a little bell ringing, and I'm going, "What is that?" I don't know where she got the bell, but she rings the bell, and I go into her room. It's about 6:30 in the morning. She normally got up around 10, so I was usually safe to be able to sleep in a little bit. She's tingling the bell, and I see this lady with this, like the Queen Elizabeth, and I said, "Excuse me, did you just summon me with that little bell?" And she said, "Of course." And I said, No. I am your son. I am here out of love, not duty. I am not your servant. So we're going to retire this bell. And she's like, "For heaven's sakes, why?" I said, "Because we don't need it. Okay, you call, I come." And at one point she actually said, "Hey, why is it always I call and you come running in here? Why don't you ever call me?" And I go, "You call me. What are you going to do?" She goes, "I don't know." But so she wanted to be called too. She wanted to be helpful. So yeah, I did it. I did engage her. I because if she wanted to, she could have just laid in bed and stayed there the whole time. I did have her do things. So I wanted to keep her active. So we played cards and we played bingo and we even played Angry Birds on her iPad.
Huh.
But I got her to do arm exercises every morning. And when I did the laundry, I asked her to help me fold the socks and the small towels and things like that. And she did great. And I actually, after a year, got her up and walking, not without assistance, but I got her walking and she was game to do it. It was wonderful. So she had a part of it. I mean, she had a good attitude about it for the most part. And I certainly had to have a good attitude about it.
Yeah.
And so I think the partnering actually is a really good term. So I do like that because you're a team.
Yeah.
And I told her again early on, I said, you and I, if I take this on, you and I are going to have fun. And my goal, one of my early goals was to make her laugh at least once a day.
And you did.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah. And
So-
she made me laugh quite often also.
Good. All right, folks. So the reason we had Mark on is this is a special book. This is not just one of the, I did this and it was hard. I did this and there was joy, there was laughter, there were unique situations, and it's from a male caregiving perspective, which I think all too often is not seen, not heard, not believed. So Mark, thank you for writing this book, and thanks for being the person you are. It's really been fun.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was brought up, in a good house, and I have good genes, as my dad would say. It's in the
There you
genes.
go.
It's in the genes.
It's in the genes. Sounds like you got some really fun genes too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And for everybody out there, take care with your care. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.
All right. Take care. See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and you just found our YouTube channel and watched one of our videos. I'm the owner and founder of Positive Approach to Care. Thanks for watching, and if you liked, if you have a comment about, or you would, please share it with people you know. Oh, and if you haven't yet done it, consider subscribing. We'll let you know when the next new video comes out, and you might want to visit our website, www.teepasnow.com, where you'll find other resources as well. See you there.